All right. So let's dive into this whole Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni thing. What's going on with them?
Yeah.
Everyone's heard the headlines by now. Accusations, lawsuits, Ryan Reynolds.
Right.
Even getting in on it. A very Hollywood story.
Uh-huh.
But we're going to go deeper than those headlines.
Okay.
We've got some legal documents. We've got some some social media blow-ups. We've got some interesting people reacting that you might not expect.
Interesting.
So we're going to really try to unpack all of this.
Yeah, and I think this really gives us a window into the information wars of our time.
Oh.
You know, how our narrative's built.
Yes.
Especially when you have all this information coming at us so fast from so many different sources. And how do power dynamics play into that?
Right.
How does legal strategy, how does online commentary, all that stuff play into this sort of,
this narrative.
This narrative, exactly.
Yeah, and to help us unpack all of this, we have our expert who is absolutely fantastic.
Well, thank you.
At connecting the dots and finding those hidden meanings behind the headlines.
Well, I mean, so just a real quick overview.
Okay.
Blake Lively, who we know from, being Blake Lively, is claiming that she was sexually harassed by Justin Baldoni on the set of the film that they did together, It Ends With Us. He is denying this and actually is countersuing, saying that this is all defamation and an attempt to sabotage his film. And then you bring in Ryan Reynolds.
The husband.
The husband who is adding fuel to this fire with some interesting promotional tactics.
Yes, it's very he said, she said, but with a Hollywood power couple added to it.
Yeah, and I think it was really interesting when Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, released text messages between Lively and Baldoni.
Oh, wow.
Because I think those are very telling, not just for the content, but it gives you a little glimpse into how they see themselves and how they use their power.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really key piece of this.
Yeah, there's one specifically that I wanted to touch on.
Yeah.
Lively compares herself in this text message to Khaleesi.
Oh, wow.
From Game of Thrones. And she even refers to Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift as her dragons.
Okay, so that's quite a statement.
It's a statement.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, and it does make you wonder how she approached this situation. Did she think she was untouchable?
Right.
Does she think because she has all these allies and all these resources that she could fight back in any way she wanted? So it definitely adds a whole other layer to her accusations.
Okay, so let's talk about the protective order battle that's been going on here.
Yes.
Lively's team is requesting a really restrictive order. Attorney's eyes only, they call it.
Right.
And they're basically trying to keep a lid on any sensitive information, especially anything having to do with third parties.
Like Taylor Swift.
Like Taylor Swift.
Okay.
And then, of course, Baldoni's lawyers are firing back. And they're saying, wait a minute, you're claiming that there's a smear campaign, but you're trying to control what information gets out.
Exactly.
And they even bring up the fact that Lively's team has allegedly leaked things to the New York Times.
Oh, the irony.
So it's just, it's interesting.
Interesting.
And then we have this interesting character that gets brought up.
Okay.
Candace Owens.
Yeah, right.
And an unexpected player in this whole thing.
Okay.
Lively's lawyers brought her up in one of the filings.
Okay.
Expressing concern over content creators online who are parroting Baldoni's side of the story.
So what do you think that means?
Well, I mean, I think it shows that this is going beyond just a private battle. This is now a battle for public opinion.
100%.
And online commentators, even people like Candace Owens, are playing a role.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating how this becomes a microcosm for the larger cultural things that are going on in our country.
And speaking of influencing public opinion, we can't ignore Ryan Reynolds' part in all of this.
Right, the husband.
He has been super active in promoting the film.
Okay.
But some of his jokes seem like maybe not so subtle jabs at Baldoni.
Oh, okay. Well, and I mean, considering Reynolds' own history of alleged on-set conflicts, it does make you wonder what his true motivations are. Is he just protecting his wife?
Right.
Or is there some professional rivalry going on? Jealousy?
Yeah.
I mean,
all of it.
It's hard to say, but it definitely adds to the drama.
Adds another layer of intrigue for sure.
Yeah.
And then there's this whole subpoena issue. Lively's team is really going all out, requesting detailed phone records from a whole bunch of people, even Wayfair employees.
Wayfair, what?
Yeah.
What is going on?
It seems like they're trying to uncover anything that could be used against Baldoni.
Right.
But it does beg the question of privacy. And how far is too far when we're talking about legal discovery?
I mean, it seems a little aggressive, right?
Yeah.
To be going after phone records like that.
And they're claiming that this is crucial to their case.
Yeah.
But Baldoni's team is saying, no, this is a fishing expedition.
Right.
And you're just trying to harass and intimidate him.
Yeah.
So it's sticky for sure.
I mean, it highlights how legal tactics can be used offensively and defensively.
Right.
And when does gathering information become something unethical?
Right. And we're just scratching the surface here.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't even dug into the specifics of the harassment claims or the alleged smear campaign or how this is going to impact the careers of everybody involved.
Absolutely. There's layers to this onion
that
we need to peel back.
So much more to uncover and analyze and discuss.
So much.
It's fascinating. It's messy.
It is.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we move on, let's just pause for a second and consider this. How do we, as just consumers of information, try to figure out what's fact, what's spin?
Yeah, especially
in a case like this where it seems like everybody has an agenda.
Yeah, we get caught up in the drama so easily and we pick sides.
Yeah.
But I think we need to remember there's always more to the story than we see at first.
Okay, so with that in mind, let's move on and start looking at a timeline of this whole saga.
Okay.
And see if we can start piecing together a clearer picture of what really happened.
Let's do it. So let's rewind a little bit and look at the timeline because I think the order of events can be really telling.
For sure. Timing is everything, right?
Yes, it is.
It gives you the motivation behind people's actions and maybe even helps us spot some inconsistencies in the stories that are being told.
Absolutely.
So
it seems like a major turning point in this whole saga was around the film's premiere.
Right back in August of 24.
August of 24, that's when things really hit the fan.
Yeah, everything kind of blew up in the media.
Yeah.
Then Lively initially had said that she would do press for the film.
Right.
But then pulled back. And that created a lot of negative attention.
A lot of negative buzz, yeah. And this is where the narratives kind of split.
Right.
Lively's side is claiming that this negative press was orchestrated by Baldoni and his team. That it was a smear campaign.
Calculated.
Calculated.
Yeah.
But Baldoni's team is saying, no, this was all Lively being difficult, and this is just what happens when you don't fulfill your
obligations.
Exactly, your contractual obligations.
And if we go back to those text messages.
Yes.
Some of them were sent right around this time. And it does give us a glimpse into Lively's state of mind.
Exactly. There's one exchange where she's expressing her frustration over the lack of control she has over the film's promotion. And she even says, she may have to unleash her dragons.
Oh, my gosh.
So it does make you think, is she playing a real-life Game of Thrones here?
Yeah. I mean, is she using her power?
Is she using her power, her influence,
and connection
to control the story?
Right.
I think so.
Wow. And it brings up the question of what is the media's role in all of this?
Right.
I mean, how much of what we're seeing is objective and how much of it has been influenced by these powerful people?
By all the behind-the-scenes maneuvering.
Right. And then you have figures like Candace Owens who are actively using their platforms to push Baldoni's perspective.
It's interesting, right? Because it really shows you how this case becomes this microcosm of the larger cultural divide.
Yes.
Different sides using the media to spin things their way.
And we're not just talking about traditional media.
Right.
Social media is a huge battleground.
Oh my gosh, it is.
Everybody has an opinion. Yeah. Everybody's weighing in, fans, commentators, other celebrities. It's
just a free-for-all.
Yeah. It's a whole thing.
And it just shows you how online discourse really can shape public perception.
Right.
And maybe even sway.
Influence,
yeah. The outcome of what happens in the real world.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the actual legal strategies that are being used.
Okay.
Lively's team, with their whole push for this protective order, are really focusing on the harm that could come to third parties, especially Taylor Swift.
Right. They're saying you can't release this information because it could damage her reputation. It could lead to online harassment.
But Baldoni's lawyers aren't buying it.
Right.
They're basically saying,
come on, you're using Taylor Swift as a shield.
As a shield to protect yourself.
Yeah.
And, they bring up the point that Lively herself has used social media to call out people she disagrees with.
Right. Right.
So it's like
a little ironic.
A little bit ironic.
Yeah.
That now she's concerned about protecting others.
Interesting.
From harassment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
very strategic.
Strategic, very much so.
Uh-huh.
And then there's the whole issue of the subpoenas.
Right.
That she has sent out.
All these subpoenas.
She's demanding tons of information.
Emails, phone, records medical records. Credit card statements.
A very aggressive approach.
It is. And Baldoni's team is like, what is going on here?
Right. They're accusing her of a fishing expedition and just trying to harass and intimidate him.
Right. So it's this classic back and forth legal tug of war.
Yeah.
Both sides using
anything they can.
Yeah. Every tool they have.
To gain an advantage.
To get the upper hand.
So let's talk about fallout.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, regardless of who, quote unquote, wins this, it seems like everybody involved has already kind of
taken a hit.
A
reputational hit.
Yeah. I mean, Lively.
Yeah.
Who was America's sweetheart.
He's now being accused of being manipulative and a bully.
Yeah. And Baldoni, who built his whole career on this idea of positive masculinity, is fighting off sexual harassment allegations.
And even Ryan Reynolds, who's seen as this like affable movie star.
Yeah. Everybody loves him.
Yeah.
Now he's this jealous, controlling husband. It's messy.
Yeah, it highlights the risk of getting involved in a high-profile legal battle. Especially when you have social media.
Oh, my gosh.
Amplifying every little thing.
Every twist and turn.
It makes you think about celebrity and social media and how hard it is to know what's real and what's not.
I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
We are just bombarded with information.
Right.
How do we know what to believe?
Right.
This story, I think, is so fascinating and disturbing.
It is.
Because it really could change how we think about power and accountability.
Yeah.
And truth in this digital age.
Okay, so before we wrap this up, let's zoom out for a minute. Okay.
And think about the bigger picture.
The big picture.
I mean, this isn't just about Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni.
Right.
This is about how we as a society deal with truth and accountability when information can be weaponized.
Yes.
And narratives can be spun so quickly and easily.
It's a big question.
It is a huge question.
And one we'll explore further in the last part.
In the final part of our deep dive.
Right.
Okay, so we've talked about the claims, the legal tactics, all the craziness online. But what does it all mean?
Right.
This whole Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni thing feels like it's something bigger.
It is bigger.
Than just a Hollywood feud.
Yeah, I mean, this case is all about truth, celebrity power, and public opinion.
And especially online.
Especially online, yeah.
Right, because it's not just about who's telling the truth.
Right.
It's about who's the loudest.
Exactly.
Who has the most influence, the best legal strategy.
And who can control the narrative.
To control that narrative.
Yes, 100%.
So think about the protective order that Lively's team wants.
Okay.
On one hand, it's, standard procedure to keep things private, sensitive information. But the way they're using it, specifically bringing up Taylor Swift, it makes you wonder if they're trying to silence critics.
That's my thought.
Control that narrative.
Right. It's like they're saying, believe us, but don't look any further.
Don't you dare question us.
Don't you dare.
Right.
And then on the other side, you have Baldoni's team using the media to paint themselves as these victims.
Oh, yeah. They even bring up Candace Owens in the legal filing.
Right. It's all about perception.
Yeah.
It's a PR game at this point.
It really is.
Yeah. And social media just makes it so much worse.
It was gasoline on the fire.
Everyone's a commentator. Everyone's an influencer.
Everyone thinks they're a judge.
Yeah.
Jury executioner.
The whole thing.
Right. It's a mess out there.
So it makes you think,
about what we're reading online.
Right. Are we being critical enough?
Are we thinking for ourselves?
Of what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Right?
Are we aware of our own biases?
Right. Are we holding powerful people accountable?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Or are we letting them get away with stuff?
Yeah. Just because they're rich and famous.
Because they're charming and successful.
And have a good PR team.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's really tough.
There are no easy answers.
No easy answers.
But I think by looking at this case, by analyzing the different angles, we become more aware of what's really going on.
Of how complicated it is.
Exactly.
So as this story keeps going, what should we keep in mind?
Okay, so first of all, I would say, be skeptical. Question everything.
Question error.
Question every statement, every legal move, every social media post.
Right.
Don't just take it at face value.
Don't just believe what you see.
Exactly.
And think about who's benefiting.
Who benefits from this?
From all of this. From the different narratives.
Yeah, whose voices are being amplified, whose are being silenced. It's a really good point.
And at the end of the day, these are real people whose lives are being impacted.
Right.
Let's try to be thoughtful, informed, and compassionate.
I think this whole thing just shows that even though we have all this information all the time, truth can be really hard to find.
It's elusive.
It's elusive.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of work.
It does.
To really figure it out.
Critical thinking.
Yeah.
Looking at it from different angles.
And sometimes even then.
Yeah.
We might never know the whole truth.
Maybe not.
But the fact that we're even trying.
I think that's what matters.
That's what matters.
Yeah.
That's what makes these deep dives worth it.
It's the pursuit of truth.
That's what we're here for.